how did the Naval Academy prepare you to lead?
Well, first of all, I love my experience at the Naval Academy, and for me, that was all about the people that I served with, and the folks that I met, and the things that we went through together. I got in a lot of trouble in the Naval Academy. I struggled with my grades, something we talked about previously. I had a big conduct record because I still did some of those knucklehead teenage things and rebelled against authority. But frankly, look, there's great people there. There's great people on the staff. I've got a very close friend. There's a battalion officer now, and it's awesome to have good people there that are passing lessons on to those young midshipmen as they graduate, and for every academy or RTC unit, for that matter. I saw, because you have such a wide swath of officers from all different, Navy, Marine Corps. I mean, every kind of different branch of within those services as well, and also you have a midshipman leadership hierarchy.
Right.
So you've got someone who, because they made good grades or had a good conduct, or ever got promoted into this kind of make believe position.
Do you see that right there?
Yeah,
a little bit of anger about that one right there. Just because they got good grades or they didn't have a good conduct, they have a thin conduct record.
Listen,
they're gonna be in charge of me.
Listen, there were some
resentful. This is a new Leif. I just met a new Leif. Resentful Leif.
I'm actually not at all resentful. I can tell you, I had some good friends who were in those positions, and it was great for them. Good for them. It's funny looking back now because it's completely meaningless, right? When you're.
Do you have a regimental commander there?
Yeah.
Is that guy in charge of all the students?
Yeah, there's regiment, brigade, battalion.
At companies. OCS they have it too. When I was at OCS, I was the man. I was called.
You were the regimental commander?
I was RegCom.
So no wonder he's a little sensitive to this. He's a little sensitive to this.
RegCom, coming in hot. Oh, they also called it the 5 bar because you're the only person with 5 bars on your little uniform.
Did they call you Captain Big Time?
No, they called me El Presidente. I was a president in my class too. I had a good time at OCS.
So now we see the sensitivity there.
Yeah.
Listen, great.
Maybe you should have studied harder. I meet some kids now, or I get correspondence from people at the Naval Academy, and I can see that they're in the game. I can see that they're like, oh, this is going on, and I'm gonna you know what I'm saying? You think you could have had that.
No question about it. Now, would it have mattered at the time? I don't know. Failure, as we say, is often the best teacher. Look, I made great grades in high school and did well on my SATs and ACTs with almost no study. I got super. I didn't have the discipline that was in place once I got to the Naval Academy. That structure, it was difficult for me. It was very hard for me as I went into a systems engineering program and those sort of things. So I struggled with that. So that could have helped me if I'd have learned discipline equals freedom at a young age and recognized the power in that. I'd be way more ahead, in life than I am.
Wouldn't we all?
For sure.
What about playing the game?
Yeah, and playing the game as well, right? That I'm going to buck authority of you know what? Actually, it's going to be a lot worse for you if you just. Even from a just personal perspective, not only works for you, but for your squad or for your, these folks that you care about. If you just build a better relationship with the folks above you instead of being the hard-headed, argumentative guy, for sure, it would have been way better for me.
I don't know when I figured that out. I mean, it was definitely in my enlisted time. I started figuring out that I'm working for a guy, and I can either make my life. I can either tell him he sucks, and then my life is going to suck. Yeah. Or I can figure out how to work with him, and that's going to make my life better. And by the way, it's not just going to make my life better. It's going to make us do a better job as a team. So it's interesting when you pick up on that in life. And obviously, if I would have been going to the Naval Academy at 18, I was a knucklehead. I would have been in the same boat of I'm going to stick it to the man, right? I mean, I'm still listening to Tenacious D at age whatever, and we're still sticking it to the man.
Well, I'll tell you, the people that I really like my upperclassmen, I really like. We have some that are, still serving the SEAL teams and are great guys that help influence me. And I expected, when I showed up there, I wanted to be a SEAL.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to war. That's what I wanted to do. And it was very hard for me to recognize that, not everybody wanted to do that or was exactly like me it was some people were a little more academic or wanted to be on the intelligence side or wanted to be, they wanted to drive a ship or they wanted to be on a submarine or those things that, fly a plane. I mean, Top Gun had come out, we had a whole bunch of people that wanted to be, pilots that had gone to school. So it was interesting. People were a lot different than I expected. And some folks didn't quite have the warlike mentality that I expected everyone might have, going into that environment. But there's no question that if I'd have done a better job of, you call it playing the game, just seeing the, detaching and seeing like, hey, listen,
thinking strategically.
Yeah, thinking strategically.
If we want to see, don't want to say play the game because that sounds too easy.
I want to build relationships.
Devious.
That is
too devious.
I didn't recognize that it was not in my benefit or the benefit of the people around me to create antagonistic relationships. And that, so rather than de-escalate those situations, I rebelled against them and pushed against them, and it was a struggle for me.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to figure that out. That being said, though, the Naval Academy is no different than anywhere else. There was great leaders there who mentored people and trained people and represented, folks well that were both officers on the staff and enlisted on the staff as well as, as midshipmen. So, but I think what was a lesson for me, and looking back on it now that I recognize, it's great to identify who you don't want to be. And if someone does something that's looking out for themselves or throws people under the bus, or those leaders that you start losing respect for, it's great to actually identify that.
Yeah.
And that's a good lesson to learn, to say, okay, good, I want to make sure I don't be that way. But what I have learned is that I can't be. We talk to leaders about this all the time, and I get people like, what do you do, when your boss just isn't a good leader? You're like, guess what? The SEAL teams is one of the most highly screened organizations in the world. What's the percentage of senior leaders that I work for that I had respect for, that I'd go and work for again? That's maybe 20%. Maybe 20% of the people I work for during my time. And guess that's about average. As you talk to people, it's about average in the business world. It's certainly at the Naval Academy, any of those places. So if you're expecting that, there's most of the world out there is not going to be a good leader. They're not going to be a good leader, and that doesn't matter, and that shouldn't affect your performance. You should be able to do, something that I learned from you, which has probably been the most helpful thing that you ever taught me, was that I should try to have the same relationship with every boss. Whether I had deep respect and admiration for them, or whether I despised them and thought they were, egomaniac who, or a coward who, couldn't mitigate risk. So, and that it's in my benefit and my team's benefit to build that relationship with my team. And that was a lesson that I had not learned then. So yeah, those negative lessons learned were good for me. And also, I would have had less negative lessons learned if I'd have figured this out earlier.